Hello friends, in our last class we were discussing about the concept, origin, objective, philosophies of extension education. With the background of understanding the concept and process of extension, now we will be moving towards the issues associated with program. A program is basically an educational job being done in a particular setting because we are trying to set a particular decision under a particular situation. Basically, the definition of extension program goes like this. Extension program is a statement of situation, objective, problems and solutions. All the things are essential for addressing an issue like what is the current situation. The second one is the objective, how we are going to address that and what are the desired situations. Then the third one is the problem and the fourth is the solution. All the things are part of extension program. Coming to planning, planning is the process of studying the past and the present for the purpose of forecasting the future. The moment we understand the past and the present situation, obviously we can plan for the future. So there is a saying which goes like this: he who can look deepest into the past can look farthest into the future. So there established a direct relationship between the past, the present and the future. If I can understand the history of about 100 years ago, it means in a perfect manner I can visualize the things that may happen in the coming 100 years. So that is what the relationship between the past, the present as well as the future. Now coming to the concept of program planning. So program planning is basically a decision-making process, involves critical analysis of existing situation and the problems, evaluation of various alternatives to solve the problems and the selection of relevant ones, giving necessary priorities based upon local needs and resources by the cooperative efforts of the people, both official and non-official, with a view to facilitate the individual and the community growth and development. The important issue is, it is not only the government that can address or the established institutions that can address or only the local communities. Rather, both these units have to come together to address the particular issue which is invariable part of the program planning process with a view to facilitate the individual and the community growth and ultimately to reach the development. In this entire concept of program planning, we try to address the issues like analysis of existing situation, identification of problem, setting of the priorities in the form of objectives, analyzing the locally available resources, prioritizing the needs based on the availability of resources and arranging the resources from different corners and bringing the local communities as well as the institutions together ultimately to address the problems of the community. So that is what is the complete process of program plan. The term used in these definitions and some relevant ones are explained in the essentials of program planning. The first one being situation. So what is a situation? A situation is a statement of affairs including social, economic, cultural and physical conditions. The situation constitutes of the environment for planning, is continuously changing. The second one being the aim. Aims are generalized and broad statement of directions with respect to given activities. For example, improvement of the farmer's economic condition. The next being the objective. Objective are the expression of the ends towards which our efforts are directed. For example, to increase the yield of wheat by 20%. There are three levels of objectives. Number one being the fundamental or all-inclusive objective, in which the people's, for example, the people's participation in planning at the grassroots level. The second being the general but the more definite objective, for example, mandatory creation of Panchayati Raj body in the state. And the third objective being the working or specific objective, in which the enactment of suitable laws relating to panchayats or holding panchayat elections or providing funds and facilities, everything specific to any body comes under working or specific objective. Then comes the goal. What is a goal? Goal is a distance in any given direction one expects to go in a given time. For example, to raise the yield of wheat by 5 quintals per hectare in the current year. Then what is problem? Problem is a condition that the people after study with or without outside help have decided to need changing. Then comes solution. What are solutions? Solutions are a course of proposed action to change an unsatisfactory condition to one that is more satisfying. Then comes plan of work. Before that, what is a plan? Plan is a predetermined course of action. And what is plan of work? A plan of work is an outline of activities for execution of program. The plan of work indicates what is to be done, how it is to be done, who is to do it, when it is to be done, who are to be served or reached, and the results will be evaluated. And the next being the calendar of work. The calendar of work, as the name signifies, it is the activities to be undertaken in a particular time sequence. Now the question comes, why we should have a program? What are the objectives of having a program? The reasons may be as follows. Number one, to ensure careful consideration of what is to be done and why. Next, to furnish a guide against which to judge all new proposals. The next being to establish objective towards which progress can be measured and evaluated. The next objective being to ensure continuity during changes in personnel, may it be private or public institutions. The next objective being having a written program going to ensure that we can continue with the program to help develop leadership. The next objective being to avoid waste of time and money and promote efficiency. And the next objective being to justify expenditure and to ensure the flow of funds we need in the extension program. And the last objective being to have available in written form a statement for public use. Now we have the facilities like getting the information under the Right to Information Act, wherein we can supply the desired communities. Now coming on to the principles of extension program planning. The first principle of extension program planning is the extension program planning should be based on analysis of the past experiences, present situation, and the future needs. For program determination, adequate information about the people and their situation have to be collected. The present situation is to be analyzed and interpreted on the basis of the past experience by taking local people into confidence. This shall help in arriving at the future needs. The next principle being extension program planning should have clear and significant objectives. The ultimate objective of program planning is to satisfy the needs of the people. The emphasis shall be on what is attainable rather than what is ideal, provided one should not lose the sight of what is ideal. The next principle of program planning being extension program should fix up the priority on the basis of available resources and time. The rural people, particularly in the developing countries, have multitude of problems. All problems cannot be taken up at a time for a solution because of limitations of the trained personnel, availability of funds, resources, etc. Time being also a limiting factor. So, considering all these parameters, it is essential to fix up the priorities before the execution of the program. The next principle of extension program planning being the extension program should have clearly indicate the availability and utilization of resources. An extension program should clearly state where from the funds, where from the facilities, supplies, the needed personnel should be available and how these will be utilized. This shall make the program planning more practical and more workable. The next principle underlying the extension program planning is that it should have a general agreement at various levels. Programs prepared at various levels such as the village, district, state and national levels should conform to each other. Extension program of a particular department should not be in conflict with the other or contradict with the extension program of other departments. The next principle underlying the extension program is that the extension program should involve the local people. Extension programs are implemented at the local level or what we say at the grassroots level. Local people should therefore be involved all through the program planning process to the program implementation process. The next principle of extension program should involve relevant institutions and organizations. Extension program cannot be implemented in isolation. It requires the support of many institutions and organizations. And the next principle being that the extension program should have a definite plan of work. Yes, the plan of work cannot be separately drawn or incorporated in the program. Unless the plan of work is drawn up, the program remains a theoretical exercise. The next principle of extension program planning is that the extension program should provide for evaluation of results and reconsideration of program. And the last principle of extension program planning is that the extension program should provide for equal distribution of benefit among the members of the community. It has been found that in a community, the resource-rich persons benefit more in comparison to the resource-poor people from the implementation of extension program. As this may generate social disparity and social tensions, the planning of extension program should be such that there should not be any discrimination to the weaker sections of the community. Now, let us see the extension program characteristics and its nature. The first being that the program planning is an educational process which involves both teaching and learning. It teaches the skills to the people in finding, analyzing, deliberating, focusing problems. It teaches the facts, gives more knowledge to the people. It changes the attitude of the people towards the planning process. Program planning, the second being, is a unifying and integrating process. Through the process of identifying problems, fixing priorities, establishing objectives, goals and providing continuity and evaluation, people get a total picture of where they are what they shall do, and where they are likely to reach. And the third characteristic of a program planning being that program planning is a coordinating process. It requires coordination of efforts, activities between the officials and the non-officials, the institutions, be it public and private institutions, and the organizations, between peoples and materials and the like. Now let us see, in spite of having all this, why the program fails. There may be certain reasons. The following are the following reasons. Number one being lack of commitment. Whose commitment? All the concerned persons. That is the extension agent, the organization, which may lead to the failure of a program. The second reason being lack of meaningful objective and goals. Program cannot be effective unless the goals are clear, attainable and actionable. The third reason of the programs being failed is the failure to develop implementing strategies. With a sound strategy, that is a synthesis of objective, goals, action plan, programs are likely to go astray. Moreover, unless the strategy is implemented, the program remains only a statement of wishes and hopes. The next reason being failure to see the program planning as rational process. Program planning is a practical process in rationality. So going through the steps without reasoning or skipping the steps may adversely affect the program. The next reason being excessive reliance on the experience. Experience is essential, I agree, but it cannot be the only substitute for current scientific information. Excessive dependence on experience may make a development program ineffective. The next reason being failure to identify limiting factors. In spite of everything appearing all right, there may be one or two limiting factors which may adversely affect the program. And the next reason being the lack of organizational support. Unless the extension functionaries get adequate support from the organization and has clear delegation of authority to take decisions, the program may fail. And then next and the last reason of programs being failed is the resistance to change. A program implies something new. It means the change, unless the human mind is amenable to change, the program may get stuck up. The next, now we'll come to the conclusion. In this class, we saw the success or failure of extension professional depends on his ability to plan and implement the program, and it is conscious and deliberate intervention to introduce change in the target communities. So in the next class, we'll be seeing the steps of extension program planning. Thank you.